if you end up having any questions or anything, about starting a pest control business, growing a pest control business, whatever the case may be, feel free to, like I said, drop it in the chat. I know it usually takes a few minutes into the stream before we start having some people tuning in. So we got like one or two of you right now. One question I've been getting a lot all of a sudden is, what chemicals do we use for like our quarterly service? Of course, I have hundreds of videos at this point on this channel, but I don't expect you guys to go surf through every ounce of content or anything like that. So some questions, of course, will be repetitive. And I actually uploaded a short about this last night as well, but I wanted to expand on it a little bit because, of course, with YouTube Shorts, we only get like 60 seconds to explain anything. So, when it comes to our quarterly pest control services, we started out by primarily using like Temperate FX. There was another chemical that I can't recall off the top of my head, but mostly Temperate FX, and then we'd use Niban or Entice granulars for our, for our main granular use and like flower beds and things of that nature. And then we were using some Delta Dust as well. I have since removed Delta Dust pretty much altogether from our, I guess if you want to call it, lineup of products that we use. We just don't really use dust. We still have it on the truck. That way, if it's needed, because it does, every chemical has its time and place, right? But it's just not something that is really needed based on my experience now. I've been in the pest control industry for like 7 years already. I grew up in this industry. My grandfather, of course, I mentioned him on this channel a couple times. He's had a pest control business for like 40 years, 30, 40 years, something like that. So I already kind of had a little bit of knowledge going in, but obviously once you get your own experience, you start testing out some other products and things of that nature. And that leads me to the overall answer. What we have been using now for, I would say, at least the last 1 to 2 years at the minimum, maybe even 3 now, is a combination of some type of Lambda 9.7 product. And when I say Lambda 9.7, that's kind of like the active ingredient. It's Lambda siluthrin, or I'm sure I'm butchering the pronunciation of that specific chemical, but that's the active ingredient in it. And, we'll switch around. We'll use, Lambda 9.7 CS is actually the name of one of the chemicals. We'll use Seismic CS. What else is there out there that has that product in it? I got one bottle one time of Cyanora. It also has that same active ingredient. Both, ironically, are made by Control Solutions. I didn't look too into it, but they're definitely slightly different chemicals. I will say, from the experience that I had with Cyanora, it is inferior to Seismic CS. I don't know if there's some different, inactive ingredients in there, but we only used like 1 or 2 bottles, and I just didn't really like the smell of it more than anything. So I was like, you know what, we're not going to use this stuff going forward. And then what else do we use? Onslaught Fast Cap. We love Onslaught Fast Cap for specifically our country accounts further out in the country where there's a lot of spiders, even some scorpions starting to pop up more and more in the Dallas, Texas area, specifically far east and far north. I've even started hearing some as far into DFW as Rowlett, Texas recently, which is where I used to live, actually. I've had one client recently have a couple scorpions out of the blue, so I found that pretty interesting. It seems like they're starting to make a push west a little bit. I don't know, something to keep an eye on, but yeah, we use the heck out of that. Again, it's situational like every other product, because one, Onslaught Fast Cap is one of the more expensive products out there, but of course it works really, really good. I've even tested around with it whenever winds are low, like very low, because in the summertime in Texas, we don't get any type of breeze. And I tested it out last year along some eaves, specifically, of course, just like on the first floor, pretty low. Always have PPE, all that stuff on, because you do not want to get that stuff on your face. Microencapsulated chemicals, there's like a burning sensation. If you've ever had it on your face, you probably know what I'm talking about. Of course, everyone reacts different, but Usually a few hours later, you'll know if you have that on. But, at the end of the day, you just got to do what's best for you when it comes to that. But yeah, we were using it along the eaves, and sure enough, we noticed a pretty considerate decrease overall in spider activity on the eaves, which I found pretty surprising. Now, I will say it's obviously not bulletproof. Don't go tell your customers, ooh, we got a big traffic jam up here. Don't go telling your customers that you have a product that's going to get rid of spider webs off the eaves altogether. Otherwise, you will have some PO'd customers and a lot of unnecessary callbacks. But I will say that, especially for like our bi-monthly or definitely our monthly customers, whenever we would use Onslaught Fast Cap, the spider web activity on the eaves specifically would drop by at least, I would say, 90%. I had one client who lives right off of a lake, and every month I'd go out there. It'd be like an initial, like almost look like the eaves were never cleaned off before. They got porch lights and this and that. Didn't want to change the bulbs. Don't want to keep them off. Stuff that attracts them. And within about 3 months, going out there monthly, 3 months of using Onslaught Fast Cap, it got to the point where I really only had to clean the eaves probably once every 3 or 4 months. Like, we just weren't really having much spider activity. Occasionally there'd be a flare up, like I said, once every few months or so, but you know, that's expected. Like we said, it's not bulletproof at the end of the day either. So you got to keep that in mind. But yeah, I love Onslaught Fast Cap. Those, like I said, that and then the Lambda related products are our go-to for our spray. And then, like we said, Nyban and Tice, they're pretty much the same thing. Mother Earth. Mother Earth has gotten very, very expensive, though. I haven't purchased Mother Earth as long as I've been in business. I used it a lot when I worked for Terminix years ago, but I've never bought a box of Mother Earth just because it's ridiculous how pricey it is compared to other products that are the same exact thing. Nyban, Entice. Nyban and Entice, they tend to kind of go back and forth, which one's more expensive, but overall, they're usually about the same price. Like when I say more expensive, it's like a $5 to $12 difference. Usually it's nothing crazy. And then on the inside, whenever we have to do inside occasionally, usually Alpine WSG is kind of our go-to. Alpine WSG, I like to call it all reliable. Works on pretty much everything, of course, outside of spiders. And like I tell my customers, whenever we have to use that, because they're dealing with like ants specifically, and they ask about spiders too, I'm like, well, you're going to notice a decrease in spider activity because we're getting rid of a lot of their food source. But you're probably still going to see a little bit. Now, if we get rid of everything and you're still seeing, more spiders than you like, we can always go ahead and come back, or whenever we do your next quarterly visit, whatever the case may be, we can do the inside again and switch over to like a Lambda product or Onslaught Fast Cap, something of that nature, where we are able to knock those spiders down considerably. And then again, like we said, it's all about setting expectations, which I could do a whole other video on, just setting expectations with your customers. Because like we said, in business, it's all about under promise and over deliver. If you go in and over promise and under deliver, that's where you're going to start having some issues with customer retention, reviews, lack of referrals. You can really ruin your brand, ruin your business pretty quickly if you don't just follow that basic principle of always under promise and over deliver. Like I will, a lot of time, I've probably lost customers from under promising, just telling them, hey, if you're expecting this type of a result, personally, I would probably go with another company. I've even had to have some reality checks with customers of mine where, they'll see like one bug and I'm like, hey, it sounds like we're not meeting your expectations, even though we did talk about this. I would probably suggest you go with another company just to see if they can live up to your expectations. And then surprise, surprise, once we have that conversation, I rarely hear from them again. It's almost like they feel bad for calling back anymore. Like they'll wait until their next visit before having us do the inside or whatever the case may be. So, always have you can never over communicate, especially through text message. My text messages a lot of times are very, very long whenever I'm explaining something, because I want it to be like so black and white, especially to a new customer who hasn't been with us ever, or they haven't been with us very long, and they're asking, about this and that. Like, you always want to over explain to the point to where, you're not being condescending. You don't want to, be like, well, hey, idiot, isn't bulletproof. Like, you don't want to come off condescending, but, just over explain to them and like, hey, this is what our chemicals are designed to do. This is what you should expect. And like we said, just be honest with them. And if that's not good enough, that's okay. You're not going to get every customer. Once you get to a point in business where everything's covered, your business expenses are covered, your lifestyle, your basic expenses are covered, you'll start to notice like, hey, I really don't need every customer. I don't need to like go against what I know is just basic, right, in regards to just how this industry works. I don't need to cut my pricing. I don't need to, do this, do that. Like, you'll start running your business the way that it's supposed to be ran. Don't get me wrong. Early stages, you're doing whatever you got to do to just get a sale, right? You're doing whatever you got to do to get the sale, because you got to provide, right? Unless if you set aside 50,000 plus to live off of for at least 6 months or more, or whatever that number may be for you, you're going to have those situations where you're like, man, I kind of really need to get this sell. And once you get to a point where you're transitioning from that, you'll notice a lot of those customers are going to get upset. And that's where, you usually decide to part ways with that customer. You go to raise the price on them $5 a month because, they got in at your quote unquote intro pricing back when you were first starting out, and now you're just so busy. Well, it's supply and demand, right? I only have so much time. My employees only have so much time. Once you start getting employees, right? We only have so much time as a company, and supply and demand. When our demand for our service goes up, obviously prices go up, just like anything else. And if someone's going to cancel with you over $3, $5 a month, they didn't value your service to begin with. They just wanted you because you were a cheap price and you would get out there pretty quick. So let me see. I haven't checked the chat yet. I finally got to a stoplight here. Let's see here. Of course, we get the usual totally off-topic comments at the beginning of the stream, so I'm not even gonna entertain that. You guys already know. Those of you that follow the channel already know who I would be voting for. But let's see. Advanced Pest Control said, "Hey Griffin, finally catching a live stream again from you. One more visit for me, then finished for the day." In the UK. UK in the house. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I think if I remember right, you are approximately 8 hours ahead of me, maybe 6. I remember somewhere like 6 to 8 hours. Right now it's about a quarter after 9 down here, 9 in the morning. I'm getting kind of a late start to the morning. As a matter of fact, I wanted to get to my first one around like 8:45, but it is what it is, right? Sometimes the mornings just go by faster than you expect. But yeah, that's awesome. We got the UK in the house again. Yeah, I remember seeing you in some comments and things of that nature. Hopefully all's well out there in the UK, and hopefully they're not taking all your money or anything crazy out there. But yeah, I was trying to get some comments pulled up on my other phone. Like I said, I wanted to address that question about the chemical. I know we talked about that for at least 10 minutes. But yeah, that is by far one of the most common questions I get. Now, are those products the only products I use? No, absolutely not. I mean, occasionally we have a real bad ant issue. We use a little Termidor SC at, the labeled rate or whatever, because there's certain dilutions of Termidor SC you can only apply like if I remember right, once or twice a year. Then there's other other rates that you can apply it. I believe even 4 times a year. But usually we don't try to use Termidor SC on the outside if we don't need to, just because it works. Don't get me wrong, it works amazing. It's an amazing chemical. It works great, especially obviously on termites, right? But I've noticed in terms of just overall general pest activity, yes, it helps knocking out ants considerably. But in terms of like a overall general pest product, it's not very good. I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't seem to have as long of a lasting residual on the outside. So that's why, like we said, we're more so considerate with how we use Termidor on the outside than we are with like Onslaught Fast Cap. I'll use Onslaught Fast Cap usually at least one house a day at the minimum, maybe even more depending on the day. But Termidor, we don't really use that hardly at all. I mean, I'll go days or even weeks without using Termidor SC on the outside. But like I said, all these chemicals, guys, they have their time and place. Don't think that, you're gonna just use one chemical for your spray, one chemical for, your ant gel, one chemical for your roach gel. Like, I mean, I even recently, finally, after like being just stuck in my ways for a couple of years, tried out for German roaches at a restaurant. One of you guys, I think it was Kristen in our Discord, was talking about, what was it called, Vendetta, I believe, where it has the IGR mixed in with the bait. And I didn't even know that. Again, just stuck in my ways, wasn't really reading up on anything German cockroach related recently, or at least back then. And I tried it out about 6 to 12 months ago, and it literally helped me finish off a German roach issue that we had at a restaurant that, to be fair, was a really bad issue before we even started, treating their home. But I mean, we just got to a certain point where we got rid of like 90% of them, but there was still just enough where they would try to stay alive and reproduce and things of that nature. And I was like, man, I got to try something different. And then I tried that Vendetta, put in some cracks that I could tell they were coming from. And I even used it. I made what we call a roach motel. We take a glue board, fold it up, put a little piece of bait in it to attract them to the glue board. That's a little tip for you guys. I know a lot of people use glue boards, of course, as monitoring devices, but if you put just like a little dab of bait in the center there, you'll even get just that much more swarming those glue boards. But yeah, made a little roach motel, a couple of them in there with the bait. And my God, we got rid of the remaining in like 2 services after that. So definitely, like, don't think that whatever products you're going to use in your pest control business, that like that's that. Like, always be willing to try new things, research new things, because the chemical technology out here, one, is getting better and better every year. And then two, of course, we have different products that are just being released, it seems, on a yearly basis now. Into care, that's another example. I never thought I would be using any type of mosquito buckets, mosquito traps, because historically they've all sucked. They haven't been worth a damn. But I started researching into care. Viserys, our chemical producer, not producer, vendor. The guys were telling me about it and how a lot of people are getting pretty good results with it, and this and that. And I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and try it out on my house. Now, of course, you have to purchase sets of 25, so I was making a pretty big financial commitment from the get go with it. But I was like, let me go ahead and just try it out on my own house, see how I like it. And it alone, I didn't do any spray. I just did it by itself, and I was like, wow, like, this thing is doing pretty good. Like, we're knocking out 80-90% of these guys with just the into care. Like, that's pretty good. So what do I tell my customers if they want just into care? Only expect about 70%, because like we always said, under promise, over deliver. And not to mention, that gives us the opportunity to upsell them into the spray and the buckets, because obviously spraying the buckets is the superior service. And we just tell them with those two, you're going to be looking at a pretty good percentage, upwards of 90+%. some people say 95 to 100. Obviously, you're never going to get rid of virtually all of them. It's just not going to happen. So, yeah, I got a feeling where I'm about to drive here in a minute, we might start not losing service, but it might not be good service for a live stream. Right now, I'm at full strength though, so we'll keep going. I am getting close. I'll probably get to my stop here within the next minute or two. But what the hell? It's starting to rain. There wasn't no rain on the radar. Man, I'm gonna be mad. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be mad if I drove all the way. Ooh, big bump there. I'm gonna be mad if I drove all the way out here and now it's gonna start raining. I knew there was a chance, but there's nothing on the radar. Hence, I don't know if y'all can see my flow zones in the truck with me. Don't ever really suggest that, obviously, for obvious reasons, but I'm not going to let my expensive stuff get rained on. My B&G's in there, my flow zones in there. Man, it's like actually coming down now, too. I don't know if you guys are picking up on it or anything with the headphone, but this is going to suck if it's actually going to rain. I'll have to check the radar in a minute, I guess, once I get to the stop and see. But yeah, we're probably going to wrap up the stream soon. So if you do have any questions or anything, feel free to drop it in the chat real quick. I say we might be wrapping up the stream. If it's going to be raining for a minute, we might be streaming for a little bit. So, yeah, I don't know what the heck this is. It just popped up out of nowhere. Y'all are quiet. Y'all must be just listening. I know, like I said, obviously a lot of you guys like me are out here working right now. I appreciate any of y'all that are tuning in. I see we got about half a dozen of you roughly in here. Hopefully y'all are having a good week so far too. Obviously we got some good news the other day, but obviously the job ain't finished. We gotta keep working, and you control you at the end of the day. So let's see. This house is like right up here. And like I said, hopefully the stream quality is doing all right. I know where I'm at. My service just dropped considerably. We were at full strength and now we're at 1 to 2 bars. So I'll probably check in on the stream here as well just to make sure the quality is good for you guys. But yeah, like I said, I'm experimenting more than anything, just seeing. One, I got a new crazy big mount, phone mount, camera mount, whatever you want to call it, set up for you guys that is supposed to make streaming while driving. Obviously, I'm doing it the safe way. I'm not reading the comments other than when I'm stopped, but I tried doing a live stream while driving, man, a year or two ago with my basic mount, and the vibration was just so bad that the video quality was just awful. So I finally invested. I got paid from YouTube this month. I get paid from them like every 2 months because you have to make $100 before they'll pay you, and the channel makes maybe 50 to 70 most months. So what I did this month was I invested in about $64 for the setup that we got. Like I said, just trying to improve the channel, just be more available for you guys because I know this channel is very live stream. You guys love the shorts too, apparently. Let me know in the comments, or in the chat, I should say, in the comments as well. If you're seeing this once it's a video upload, let me know down below. Do you watch shorts more than video, like long form video, or do you just kind of watch shorts because YouTube, gives them to you, or do you not watch shorts at all? I'm just trying to get an idea of what you guys enjoy the most. So I appreciate you guys as always. And again, if this is your first time tuning in, just wondering who is this guy, my name is Griffin Thomas. I own the company you see right here. I was looking over here. Preferred Pest Management in the Dallas, Texas area. We've been in business now officially 4+ years. We're in year 5. I took my business from 0 to 6 figures in 1 year, and I'm just slowly but surely walking the way up to that 7-figure range. And I just document that entire journey for you guys and answer any questions you guys have along the way, along with posting other videos that should help you guys just grow your business, start your business quicker than what it's taken me. So if any of that resonates with you or you appreciate that, 1, give us a thumbs up on this, and then 2, of course, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in the next one.